Hello everyone. I have some good news and bad news regarding the stream. So apparently Hatch probably won't make it. Seems like it's pretty certain by now. But show must go on, as they say. And the stream with Hatch will take place sometime soon in the same format. I'm probably going to have to go to a different tournament, since this one is not taking place right now. So I'll try to get the link to the event. Need a minute or two to find the link to my own tournament, but we are adjusting the settings a bit. Instead of Hatch, we'll have International Master Asaf Givon. I tried to change the title, but for some reason I'm experiencing problems with it. Maybe I can do it now. Let's see. Okay. Seems like it might work. So okay, for lack of a better link at the moment, I'll use this one. I have no idea if in 4 minutes it's going to work or not. It's the first time I'm playing a tournament that's private here on lichess.org. So if I'm not wrong, the time control will be 5+2, not 10+0. And I'll have Asaf Givon with me, so I'll call him in a moment and see if he's available. And yeah, I'm not sure about the duration either, but I'm guessing 90 minutes is how it will go. Let's see the chat in the meantime. We have a bunch of familiar faces here in the chat. So, a lot of messages already. So, we have Julio Castro, Jakub Irkilmez, Saleh Al-Musawi. Hope I pronounced it correctly. I can read the chat, but probably the viewers will hear me with some 15-second delay or so. So we have some of our professional trolls here as well. Fabio Soares, hello. Alright, so Ariel Ehrenberg, wishing us luck, thank you. Adam Talley, Christopher Herrera, and many more. So thanks for showing up today. Apologies for the change of plans. And yeah, so the tournament is supposed to start in a minute. I have no idea if it will work or not. If not, I'll try to sort it out as quickly as I can. But we will have a show today, either way. So let's see. So since it's very late and on a very short notice, Asaf will join us for only an hour. I'll try to continue for however long the tournament will go on afterwards, and see what happens. All right, so okay, let's see if everyone will be able to hear me now. Asaf?
Yes.
Hey. So
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. How do you do today?
It was a long day.
You've had a very long day.
I did.
As a
yes.
chess coach, right?
Indeed.
Teaching for like 10 hours or so, or more even.
Yes, yes.
Yes, and now you came here to bail me out at the last moment.
Dan, I don't know what you would do without me. I really
Without
don't.
you, I would probably, I don't know, have a job and complain about my miserable life. So
If without me you had a job finally?
I would be a normal
So,
person without you, yeah.
I don't know if it's a compliment or not, but let's say that anyway, I'm happy to be here.
Me too. I'm happy that you are here.
Yeah.
Let's see if people can hear you. So I have no idea if the tournament will work out or not, but we'll see how it goes. So
Should I follow you?
I didn't even
on-
manage to join my own tournament. Look, I don't know where it goes. It links to my stream and not to the actual Lichess tournament. So I'll try to get there as quickly as I can.
Okay.
Okay, maybe I'm late to my own tournament.
Yeah, that's a record.
Sounds fit. No, but it links to my stream. I don't know what to do. I created a tournament and I don't know how to get there. So this is funny. Okay, this is the Lichess homepage. I see myself in the banner, but it all links to my stream and not to the actual tournament. So let's see if I can sort it out a little bit. So very quickly try to see if it works. Oh, I need to. Okay, so let's see if it will work out. Alright, so seems like I got the right link finally.
Mm-hmm.
Some people managed to make it to the tournament, but not
Really?
me. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm putting the right link, hopefully. And the tournament actually starts in a minute, so we're not late technically.
Really?
So the time control is 5 plus 2. It's supposed to last 2 hours. So I told the viewers, since it's very late and you came on a very short notice after a very long day, you'll only be with us for 1 hour, assuming you'll make it.
Yeah, I might pass away during this time, so...
Yes, but at least you're streaming, so I mean, if you have to go, then at least do it in a glorious way.
Okay, so, but just can you explain me, should I like just
So-
follow your games?
I have no idea what we are going to do, but the idea is to be as instructive as possible.
Yeah, like
And
we used to
we have
do.
some... we have Shrek David 2638 playing the tournament. This is funny. And with everyone
Really?
else being below 2000 almost.
That's
So
cool.
it's going to be interesting. Shrek David, by the way, is David Gorodetsky from Israel. Is he an international master? No, not yet, right?
Not yet, but is like very close to there. Let's say.
Yeah. So we have the first game. Let's stop with the music since we need to kind of hear each other.
I don't even know how to find you, but
Okay,
I
so
will
I need
try.
to make a move. So let's play e4 in the first game. You can see through our conversation. You can see my moves.
My
So
conversation.
do you see the position?
Yes, I do. I do.
Okay. So okay, I didn't explain too much. It's 5+2, so we're gonna have to be quick while explaining things. But
Okay, but so we have a Perch defense, Perk.
yeah. And,
Or how do you call it when black plays c6 instead of g6? Does it have its own name?
I have no idea. But
I also
most of
am
our
not familiar.
most of the players here who will play against us will be around the rating of, I don't know, between 1400 to 1800. So my idea is to try to be as instructive as possible for those who are not on a very high level, assuming many of them will watch this stream
Okay.
in the coming days. So my main idea is to lean on the two basic questions that I like to ask.
Yes.
Everyone knows that you should develop your pieces, and I hope at least. And those who don't will probably mention it also at some point. But
Yeah.
I just want to clarify that there are two questions that I want to ask on every single move, if possible, if we can afford it. One is what is the opponent's idea, and
Yes.
the second question is which is the worst placed piece. But that's of course after having developed all the pieces. So as you can see, I'm putting all the pieces in the center and bringing a new piece to the game with every single move. And well, soon we will be out of the opening phase, and we'll have to find some logical moves. So just for the sake of completion, I'll move this rook and develop it to e1. Although that's not what most trainers tell their students.
Yeah, I'm not so sure if rook fe1 is so useful, but
Yeah,
okay.
but let's just
I go along. Okay.
yeah, let's just pretend that we want to develop all the pieces. Now, I'll start asking myself the question, and let's see if we can agree on the answer. So I think that if it were black to move, he would like to play b5.
Yes.
Would you agree?
Yes, I maybe even should have played it before. Because,
Yeah, I agree. He should have played it before, but I mean, I wanted to be a little bit conservative with my development at the beginning,
Yeah.
and then see what happens. So I'm playing a4 to prevent b5 and prevent black from taking space.
Yeah, I must stress though that I think that you should not only ask what is your opponent wants to do, but you also need to assess it. Is it dangerous? Like, is it really so?
Yes.
Because we cannot kind of respond to any threat.
Yeah.
Right.
So now the opponent doesn't have any threat. I asked myself while Asaf was speaking in my mind, if I try to listen, don't worry, but I asked myself if he's threatening anything, and my conclusion is that he has no concrete threats. So I'm continuing my development, and usually after finishing developing all my pieces, I like to create a window for my king. So h3 is a window for the king. I would have done it even without the bishop here, but now that it comes with tempo, it's even better.
Yeah.
And,
h3 always a useful move.
Yes. Now he takes. Of course, I want to take with the bishop, not to ruin my own king pawn structure. And the idea is, of course, that what I'm hoping for is that all of our opponents will be able to watch the stream afterwards and hear us talking about their games. So now I'm asking myself if he has a threat. I don't see any direct threat. So again, I'm asking another question: which is my worst placed piece, or the one that I can improve with the least amount of time invested? And I'm thinking it's this knight. It's in the center, but it doesn't look very active. So with two moves, I can bring it to g3. And it doesn't seem like I will have too many, let's say, a big price to pay for it.
Yeah, I like this plan.
So this is a general plan in this structure, to bring the knight to g3. Usually it comes from b1 via f1, but I mean, the knight doesn't have feelings, so as long as he will make it to g3, I think he won't be offended.
Yeah.
So now we made it. Even though I played quickly because of the time control, I want to stress that I did ask myself subconsciously if he has a threat, and since he doesn't, I continued with my plan.
Yeah.
So now once again I'm trying to think which is the worst placed piece, and I don't see any particular one that I can improve very easily. So the next move might be to reinforce the center with c3 or c4.
I like C3 more
Yeah,
because
c3
C4
is
kind
more
of
solid.
C4 kind of loosened the black squares in the center.
Yeah, the dark squares are kind of weak. Now he has a threat, so it's very easy for me to respond. He wants to take. He also wants to play knight c4 and get one of my bishops. Right
Yeah.
now, I would say that I enjoy having the bishop pair, which
Yes.
is considered to be a strategical advantage. So hopefully the bishop pair will be preserved with this move. So this is a multi-purpose move, but it was very easy to come up with it because he had a threat.
Yeah.
So once we realize the opponent's threat, it's much easier to respond.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, B3 kind of was an easy move, yeah?
yeah,
So what do you think would be his next move?
it doesn't matter. I just want to focus on the worst placed piece that I have, so I can save time. Unfortunately, it's not a 1 hour game that we could afford to focus on all the nuances of the position. But
Yes.
I would say that this knight can be improved by jumping to f5. But I have to take care of the e4 pawn because he might attack it after e takes d4. Fortunately, after bishop takes d4, the rook from e1 will defend the pawn. So for now, it seems like it's a valid option. Queen d7 doesn't have a threat, so I can continue with my plan. But I'm spotting something different that can be done here. I can't really explain what's the pattern to spot such ideas. I mean, in this time control. But the queen was protecting the knight, so by the knight being loose on b6, it gives me some options to attack it with the bishop on e3. So I'm thinking that if I move this pawn, then I will have a tempo on the knight. So by taking on e5, I'm actually winning a piece. So
Yeah, because
I'm
it's a
going to
double
play it,
attack.
but I'm not sure what's the best way to explain how to find such moves. It just jumped to my brain that the knight was hanging here, and I'm sure with Asaf it was exactly the same, yeah?
Yes, okay. In general, you should be aware all of the time to hanging pieces, and in general, it's okay. The more experienced player you are, maybe it comes more naturally, but
Yeah.
it's something that all players should do.
Probably solving tactics on the tactics trainer can help improving this kind of skill, and obviously playing a lot of games. And
Yes.
usually another thing that I like to mention, but I don't have enough time in the stream nor on my clock to focus on this part, but is the topic of calculation. And on every move I like to calculate. Okay, the opponent resigned because he's losing a piece, but well, good game. I would
Justified. Yeah.
have to say. I mean, it doesn't feel like. I feel like a bully every time I play one of these events that we're organizing here. I feel like I'm bullying people online, but hopefully everyone will take it in good faith and know about the conditions from the tournament's title and the fact that I mentioned it already. And also in the account information, I mentioned that we are going to consult.
Yes.
Last time we did it, some people complained that it was too much to handle. So back to what I was saying earlier. Let's play another opening now. We have another white. So
Okay.
what opening would you suggest? Let's say d4.
Yeah, why not?
Okay, but let's take it in a simple fashion because I just want to develop my pieces. Okay, it doesn't prevent me from taking over the center just like the previous opponent, so let's do it. The previous guy played the Pirz, and now he does some hybrid form of the Pirz defense. I think it's called the modern defense because he didn't play knight f6 yet. He started with
That's
g6.
right.
So normally I play f4, which is the Austrian attack, but it's quite sharp and I want to keep it simple. So let's just develop the pieces to the center.
Yeah, okay.
And this time I will play a4 before he gets a chance to play b5. Normally I develop my pieces first, but I feel like we don't have to limit ourselves to worse moves just because we want to be conservative. So if anyone doesn't understand why they have to play a4 in this moment, then you don't have to. It's not losing to avoid it. Okay, now I want to develop the bishop. So usually I put my light pieces, the knights and bishops, on this square. I call it the large center. This is the small center. And so either d3 or c4. And because after bishop b7, knight f6, e4 will be a little bit weak, I'm thinking d3 is a better square. And
Yes.
after castling, I will have more chances to have the same maneuver like in the previous game with knight e2 and knight g3. And well, seems like castling is possible, so I'm just developing, as you probably know by now.
Yes.
Yes, and now he has a threat. He wants to take my pawn, so I need to react. And
Okay.
ideally I would react by developing this bishop from c1. So I see two options. One is to defend the pawn, and another one is to have a tempo on the queen, and maybe after he reacts to get the bishop back to e3 and defend the pawn. Which one do you prefer?
Okay, in general, the move bishop g5 is slightly more annoying for him because he needs to make a difficult choice.
Yes, it's more
whether
aggressive.
it's yeah, he needs to, it's good to give your opponents good difficult decisions to make, especially
Yes.
in blitz.
If you give him choice, there is a chance he will make a mistake. Or at least
Yes.
think, which we want them to think,
Yes, yes.
if possible. Someone is asking to play the c4 opening. Ondrej Miso. At least once.
The c4 opening.
It is the hardest to understand to me, he says. Okay, we'll try. I'm not sure we will understand, but we will try to explain even without knowing.
Actually, I played one c4 a couple of times, like in the last years.
Okay, so you will have the responsibility of explaining the idea. So now he's attacking the bishop, which is kind of closing the bishop on g7. So I'll just move it back to the center, and compared to bishop e3 immediately, the pawn on f6 favors me, because it opens this diagonal in case he castles.
Yes.
Or even if he wants to castle, I might even move my bishop to c4 to prevent him from castling. Now it seems like a valid idea.
Yes, you should make it.
And yeah, I don't see a reason to avoid it, even though I'm moving the same piece twice, which is not something recommended to do. It feels like a positive tempo, and there is a nice tactic behind it also.
You know, Tal, when thinking about it, okay, obviously, okay, not so obviously, but I think now he would like to play knight f7, right, in order to give himself the opportunity to castle.
But there is a tactic.
Yes, there is a tactic, but
well, I feel like the tactic occurs because he moved so many pawns and weakened his position instead of developing, and he has a lot of holes on the light squares.
I think the tactics comes because he has undefended pieces. Yeah,
yes,
hanging pieces.
Exactly, like we talked on the previous game. So he has an undefended rook here, and Asaf and I both spotted that I have, after taking on f7, the move queen d5 check is a fork of on the king and the rook here, and we can simply exploit this fact by taking on f7, and after he will take on e5 and then play queen d5 check, attacking both pieces. Seems like it will win some material, and he cannot comfortably take back on e5. So I want to mention that the reason that this happened, sometimes there are no tactics to exploit the opponent's mistake, but the main reason from strategical point of view is that he moved some of his pieces more than once, and that also he moved a lot of pawns rather than developing pieces. So by having more pieces outside in the center that join the game, we had more opportunities to create threats.
Yes.
So
I'm actually not so sure if you made the right move order to execute your plan.
had I taken on e5, we could have taken with a d knight.
But he could also do it now, and then there is bishop e6.
So I missed bishop e6. So probably you're right. So maybe there was no way to do this tactic, actually.
No, but at least the bishop was still alive, and you could prevent him from castling.
I gave up my bishop for nothing, and
no, not for nothing. Yeah, you.
Okay, for very little, I would say.
For that, yeah, the bishop was very important.
Okay, let's continue with the development. I'll create a window. I'm bailing out now. I'm creating a window for the king. But just to mention, in the above mentioned position, so bishop c4 was a risky decision without executing it properly. And here, instead of taking on f7, I should have taken immediately. And after knight takes e5, knight e5, he would be forced to take with the knight. And then he will have troubles to castle. So I'll continue the game. Now knight d4 is probably a decent idea to try to get his light squared bishop, which is quite strong. And I'm also preparing some f4, maybe followed by f5. So the move bishop takes f7 was a mistake. And well, I tend to make mistakes when I'm talking while playing, more often than when I'm focusing on the game. That's my excuse. But I'm also making quite a bit of mistakes without talking, so I feel fine. Feels like everything's normal. So now his threat is quite obvious. So I'm just responding to the threat by moving the rook.
Yes.
Notice also that his rating is 21-25, which is relatively high, so it means he'll probably be able to play rapidly towards the end.
When we have c5, I think it's a bad move.
Yeah, because now d6 is a bit loose. Now
and
I have
also
to,
the d5 square.
Yeah, I'll just move the knight back, since I don't have... I prefer to move it forward, but all the squares are taken by his pieces. So, moving back, and maybe I will have knight f4, knight d5, and exploit the d5 square. Since the move c5 just weakened the light squares in the center.
Yes.
So, apologies in advance that if we drop under a minute, we're gonna have to... maybe I'll play and you will explain, and I'll have to focus a bit on the game. Because I feel like if I blunder, I'll do it without having an excuse. So now I want to continue my plan, moving with the knight to f4, and then later maybe playing b3 also, and harassing this bishop away.
Yeah, why not?
And well, the key here is to exchange this bishop for knight and somehow have better control on the d5 square. So knight to c6. Okay, I don't see a threat. Every move, even if I'm not mentioning it, I'm asking myself, even subconsciously, if he has a threat, and if he doesn't, then I continue my plan. So, attacking the bishop, bishop e6 seems almost forced.
Yes.
And, well, taking it looks like a good move. I don't see why not. And now, he wants f5 probably. So, I'll just develop. I don't see a reason to avoid it. Just putting the queen in the center on d2, and then rook a to d1.
Yeah, looks sensible.
The only piece that's not participating in the game thus far. And yeah. Now, I don't think he wants f5 because it will weaken his king, right?
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a threat, but you can maybe think about the move bishop f4, putting pressure on d6.
Yeah.
And also protecting the pawn on e4, so you can later play knight to d5 maybe and put the knight, because at the moment knight d5 is not possible.
Okay, I want to go f3 with the same idea.
Okay.
Just to go knight d5 if possible, followed by knight f4. And the reason I didn't play bishop f4 because it would take that square from the knight, and it would also allow some knight d4 move, or maybe later bishop d4 check. I just think like the bishop is already in the center, So there is no point to move it again. I mean, it's possible, but it's not obligatory. Okay, now he's trying to fight against knight d5, which seems very logical. Well, I want to put my knight on f4. So I'm thinking about knight e2 followed by knight f4. It seems like a decent idea. And I have 35 seconds, so I'm going to go for it. I'm also preparing c3. And now the only question is if he can get d5 in or not, which is a matter of calculation. And I think he cannot because of the pin on the d file. Okay, he allowed me to go knight f4, attacking the rook. Later I'll go c3 probably.
I think you're just winning. Strategically,
yeah.
Perhaps even tactically.
Yes. Okay, I'll repeat the position once to get the 2 seconds increment.
Oh, you serious?
Yes, and now queen e2, attacking this pawn here.
That's a mature move, because most people would play knight d5 without thinking.
Yeah, and now queen c4 check. I just want to have more powerful control on the light squares. So I'm not sure if what I'm playing is the best moves, but I'm just trying to handle the time pressure. So it's hard to be instructive while playing quickly. Now I'll just double the rooks, but queen g8 also looks quite interesting. So, but I don't want to be too tactical unless he forces me to. Okay, so now queen g8 is practically forced. And I'll just continue my plan to double on the d file.
Yeah, looks good.
Just bringing, even though I'm not saying it out loud, I'm continuing the same process of thinking. What does it threat? What is it threatening? And then which is the worst placed piece? It was the rook on e1, so I'm bringing it closer to the game. Now,
even though I think you kind of missed the tactic on the last move, yeah.
Yeah.
96 was winning, no?
Yes. I didn't miss it, but I didn't want to play like in the most let's call it advanced fashion possible. I want to bring all the pieces and to show that even without seeing all the best tactics, it's still possible to make some decent moves. Because some people think the tactics are just magic and they don't come to their mind. So, yeah, I'm feeling like now his only threat is to get the rook, so I'll try to move it. So putting.
Why not rook f6?
Oh, rook f6. Actually, this one I actually missed.
Yeah,
legitimately.
I thought.
It was hanging, and the queen was protecting.
Now don't miss this tactic that you have right now, please.
Okay, so I have a very simple tactic. I have only 10 seconds. Hopefully the viewers will see it. Rook takes f8, followed by queen takes e5. So now I'll have to play quite faster. I apologize. You can explain what's going on.
You missed 96. Come on.
Yeah. Good explanation. Good explanation for bishop c5. This is the humor part of our stream, yeah? And I heard someone in the comments promising it will be entertaining, so finally we kept the promise. So I'm only aiming for instructive, so don't hold me accountable for other people's promises. So we played 2 games already or 3?
I think
2.
3, no?
Yeah. Shrek David already managed to get 4 games in by berserking his way. I think he's here to win the tournament. He kind of missed the point of what we're doing.
It is right.
Yes. I originally wanted to put a limit of a top limit of 2,000 for the tournament, but yeah, I had to cancel it because we changed the settings for the event. So let's play e5, the most classical opening. And I want to mention that because I'm playing together with you and you're an international master, so it doesn't seem fair to limit the tournament to only lower ratings. Okay, so now we're just developing the pieces basically.
I think when the time And we will play against Reg David. The fact that we are talking during the game will only harm
Disturb.
us. Yeah, disturb
Yeah.
us because it's.
Yeah.
You
Okay,
rather.
I'm just going to develop
Yes.
castle. And by the way, if he plays bishop g5, this pin is a little bit annoying, so I'm going to play something that's a little bit advanced. So I'm starting with a simple move, h6. As mentioned before, it's a window for the king with a tempo on the bishop. Normally they go bishop h4, and then I wanted to show an idea. I'll demonstrate it once he starts to think. In the meantime, I'm just responding to his threats. Now he's having a double threat on the queen and the pawn, so I'm just going back. There's no reason why black should be in trouble. I did everything quite logically. And now I want to finish my development by playing d6. And
I think
hopefully...
it's also good to mention that he gave up the bishop to
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah. And well, now I have a pleasant choice of
Too easy.
different plans. I would prefer to preserve this bishop. He wants to go d4 and maybe knight takes b6 after I go to b6. So I'm going to play another move that's a little bit advanced, a6, aiming to put the bishop on a7. I can't promise that it's a good move, but it's definitely a logical idea to preserve the bishop, since he has no counterpart on the white side because he exchanged it for a knight on f6. Now b4, and finally I can demonstrate my idea. Had my bishop been on b6, I would have trouble after a4 with the threat of a5. And he played it anyway, so it just proves that my plan wasn't too bad. And well, now I have different plans possible. And developing this bishop is the conservative way of playing. But I feel like this knight is a little bit annoying. And
Yes.
my opponent also moved a lot of pawns, so I'm not obliged to... I won't be punished if I don't develop the bishop straight away. So I'm feeling like playing knight e7 is very logical to fight against this knight. And well, it's just basically changing the order of my development, because after moving the bishop I would probably go knight e7. So there is some flexibility with the development. If we reach certain level of mastery, we can try to understand the difference between move orders, which is probably something that even the top players in the world can get wrong every so often, let's say. So now, once again, I can go bishop e6, which will be the conservative way to play, but I want to keep it, let's call it, as interesting as possible. And
Yeah, I'm thinking about something else.
yeah, so normally the plan here would be f5.
Yes.
And it's not legal. As you can see, I cannot make the move because there is a king behind the pawn. And yeah, it's a very typical plan in this structure. And for those who don't understand the logic of postponing the bishop's development, once again, I would state that we have the two bishops. And we're kind of justifying not moving the bishop by opening up the position with f5. Because with the pair of bishops, opening the position will be in our favor.
Yes.
As long as we don't get mated because of lack of development, but it doesn't seem to be the case since he also didn't develop too much. So, and he also just moved backwards with the knight, so it feels like I wouldn't be challenging him as much as I would like to if I would play bishop e6, because it will invite him to simplify the position rather than try to punish him for giving up the bishop and then moving backwards. Okay, so now the only question is, should I go f5 or not? And I'm not sure what's the answer. I think that if I don't, he will go queen h5 and it might be a little bit annoying.
So you have a move which kind of get the two birds.
In one stone.
Yeah.
I think the move g6 would make sense.
Yes, a lot of sense in my view.
Yes, preparing f5 for later, maybe taking with the pawn, because I don't want to part with my bishop. Had I played f5 immediately, he would capture everything and then exchange my bishop in the process. So after g6, I won't be forced to do it. And I'm also preventing his queen h5 idea. So without mentioning it out loud, I was asking myself what is his threat. He wanted to develop his queen to a very aggressive square. And I'm also kind of preventing knight f5 related ideas. Okay, now it's very simple to understand his threat. He wants to take on h6. And the most logical move is to defend it with the king. King to g7. And
Yes.
also protecting some squares that are relatively weak because I moved the pawns forward. So obviously I cannot capture the. I mean, I'm not winning a piece with bishop g4 because of queen g4. So someone in the chat is asking what does overrated mean, but I'm not sure in what context we said it.
Sorry.
So what is his threat? Queen f6 check, right?
Yes.
I'm not sure if it's winning or not, but I don't want to allow it.
Yeah, it's not something you want to see on the board.
Yes. So unfortunately I don't have a very active way to prevent it, but
Why
I
not?
feel like moving the knight away would once again hit two birds with one stone.
I disagree. I would play something else.
You would play f5.
Yes, why not?
Yeah, there is no reason. There is no reason to avoid it. So
we wanted to play f5 on the first place, so if we can do it with the tempo, so why not?
yeah, you're very, very right, my friend. So let's continue the plan. Of course, we have to make sure that there is nothing too sneaky going on with all these pieces around the king. But it seems like this bishop, even though he's not developed, is doing quite a fine job at joining the forces from his starting square, because he's threatening a lot of squares around the king side.
Yes.
So now he's helping us defend the f5 square, and we don't lose material. Okay, we wouldn't lose material even without it, but it feels safer to have him around, because now the knight can afford to move later if needed. And by exchanging the e pawn versus the g pawn, I want to mention that we opened up the king a little bit, which is kind of dangerous. So this is why I was leaning towards knight g8. f5 wasn't the only idea in the position.
Yes.
I kind of want to development first, and to keep it simple, even if it's not the best way to play. So it's hard to bring a set of principles to fit these concrete positions. So I prefer to compromise my level of play a bit, just for the sake of being able to verbalize the ideas. Okay, so now what is his threat? He doesn't threaten. He's not threatening to take on f5, but my king is a little bit open, so
Yes.
I need to be careful. I don't see a direct idea for him, but if I develop the bishop, he might be able to take on b7. But I really want to develop. I don't want to think for too long with 2 minutes on the clock, so I'll just develop it to d7, with the idea that after queen b7 I have bishop c6, kind of trapping the queen, because if he takes on a6 I will have bishop takes e3 with a tempo on the queen. So hopefully,
I think I would play other move.
you can suggest the move if you want.
No, I just wanted to say that instead of you, I think I would have played c6 with the idea d5.
Yeah, definitely a good idea.
to
Probably a
play
better
for a
move,
big-
but once again I want to focus
You
on
want-
development.
Simple as possible, okay.
Yeah, keep
And
it
blitz,
as
keep it
simple as
simple.
possible, because some people don't see the entire board and all the pawns and all the plans, especially in blitz. So I just want to focus on development. Okay, so attacking the king. I would love to play knight g6, but because of this knight on h4 I cannot, so I'm going to h7, keeping an eye on the g6 square.
Yes.
It does feel scary with all these pieces eyeing my king, but I do have enough defense, at least for the moment. And f4 is kind of a big threat to win a piece. So he has to react, and he doesn't have a lot of time left on the clock.
So he played knight d5, yeah, so actually one of the ideas of the move c6 that I suggested is just not to allow
Yeah, now
this
the
kind of
g6
moves.
square becomes weak, and it's not too easy to protect it. So I feel like I want to put the bishop here to defend this square.
Maybe it's almost a forced move, yeah?
Yeah, bishop
Bishop
e8
e8.
defending the g6 square. Yeah, it's kind of annoying to play, but yeah, I feel like I am forced to play concretely rather than generally, because I played f5 earlier.
Yes, I think white, it's good to understand. White has like a very let's say short-term advantages, like a very active pieces. But as soon as his attack will be over, black will have a
Hopefully.
long-term. Yeah, hopefully the black has a long-term advantages, the two bishops and the bigger pawn center. So I would rather be black in
In
this
this
position,
position.
just because I have
It's
less to
important to
prove
add in this position, yeah?
in this position. Yeah.
So now he's threatening bishop f5, so I'll defend it with the tempo. And
I am betting. Whoa, what is this?
okay, he got nervous because of the time. We can take on f5, and it seems like he's dropping a piece.
Yeah.
And once again I start feeling like a bully. And now developing the last piece with tempo seems like a legit idea. And he's threatening to take on e4 once again, so just defending it. And a nice plan to regroup, following the same pattern of asking myself which is the worst placed piece. Of course I can try to mate him very quickly, and maybe I should, but I just want to be educational in a way, and play c6 and just get the last piece from the other side of the board to the game via the square on b8. And now I have more pieces and around his king, and the only one that doesn't participate is my queen. So I have many different choices. I can bring it from g7 and attack g2, from c7 and with an attack on h2 with this battery. There are other ideas as well, but I just want to focus on the queen. So which is the most active square?
For the queen, h4.
Let's put it on h4. The most active square, creating the threat of queen h3.
Well, you had other square in mind?
c7 and g7 I mentioned. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Now I'm taking on h3 because the g pawn is pinned, so he has no way to take these two pawns. And now there is a simple mate in 2, I believe. Rook takes g4, and now bishop g2 is the only move, and queen takes g2. And well, every time I reach this moment when they have no time and a relatively bad position, I start feeling like something is wrong with what I'm doing here. But well, hopefully all the opponents will take it in good faith and will later watch the stream and maybe learn something from it. I'm not sure. It's the first time we do it like this, yeah?
Yeah, you want to play e5 on every game?
No, I did it on instinct for some reason. Okay, let's just develop the pieces. I don't want to be too advanced here. So, developing the bishop to the center. Later I'll go knight f6. Knight f6 immediately was probably a more educated way to play, because they say you need to develop the knights first, because the bishop kind of works from the starting square as we saw in the last game.
Yes.
Now castling. And now the idea I forgot to mention. I'll mention it after
Maybe
I
you
make a
should
move.
play such a move which will allow bishop g5, maybe rook e8 or something.
Yes, I'll play rook e8 just in hope that he will play bishop g5.
I think he will.
But the idea is that after h6, if he plays bishop h4 rather than taking, which was a slight mistake in the previous game, I'm not gonna play g5 and open my king. I'm going to retreat this bishop all the way to e7 before playing d6. That's why it was important for me to wait a little bit with d6. Even in this game when I'm playing rook e8. And now once again, d6 is the normal way to play, but I like to start with h6 first, to avoid bishop g5 altogether, because after d6, I'm not gonna have a nice way to get rid of this pin. And now finally I can play d6 and develop normally. And once again, this bishop on c8 is working from his starting square. So ideally I would play knight e7, knight g6, the usual rerouting of the knight.
Okay, but in order to get this happening, you would probably have to play bishop d7 first or something.
Yes, you're right. But I just wanted to get there, like, to explain how... I mean, if I could do it immediately, I would prefer to do it. But there are two problems. One is the pin, that he will capture the rook if I do so. And the second one is that d4 will come with tempo.
Yes.
So I'm attempting to solve these two problems with two different ideas. So the first one will be to move this bishop either to b6 or to a7. And I'm
Yes.
starting with this tempo on his bishop. Had he taken, there will be no pin and I will have the bishop pair. Now, another flexible move. I don't have to be too quick with the development in this position. I'm going bishop a7. And I'm keeping the two different options. Either bishop d7 or b5 to get rid of the pin. And then later on go knight d7, knight g6. And we will have a regular Rui Lopez or Guico piano position.
Yes.
That's a pretty high level game for 1700, so kudos to the opponent. AACA. I love the nicknames here.
Today I saw the best nickname ever.
So b5 or bishop d7, which do you prefer?
Bishop d7 slightly more kind of
Solid.
solid. Yeah, this is the word.
You don't like moving pawns because they cannot go backwards. I mean, unless you have to.
No, b5 was not bad, of course. It's just
Less
more
flexible.
risky, let's say.
Yeah, more risky. Yeah, that's a nice way to put it. And now that he went bishop c2 anyway, we kind of developed rather than moving a pawn. But it's arguable. I'm not sure this is a good way to phrase it, but I mean, one can argue which one is better because b5 can grab space and then you can put the bishop on b7, the long diagonal. So it depends on the position and the taste. And probably eventually we can talk about it for hours, but I mean, at the end, as long as you make decent moves, it doesn't have to be the best one in every single position. So
Yes.
now he has no direct threat, as I mentioned in the beginning of the stream. So I will continue my plan, rerouting the knight. If he takes, I'll just take with the rook and maybe go back on the next move. Not complaining too much. So we have a relatively symmetrical position, I would say. With
Yes, a
only
lot of
difference-
people tend to be afraid of symmetrical positions, like they are afraid to make a draw or something, yeah?
Yeah. And, symmetrical positions are not necessarily drawish if your opponent doesn't play well.
Oh, I learned that on my skin, let's say, because one of my last games that I played in the Israeli First League against some strong Ukrainian grandmaster, I lost like almost a completely symmetrical position.
Was it Martin Kravtsev?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna go back because he has no threat and I don't like my rook on a7. And it's important, by the way, in the opening or in general to have a connection between the rooks. At least that's what I was taught as a boy and I never really understood why, but I'm just following this principle. So please continue.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say that I was almost sure that the game would end in a draw, but he kept posing some small problems and eventually managed to trick me and to win the game. So I was actually very impressed by his ability to win such a draw.
Pose problems is the
symmetrical position.
Or
Yeah.
put pressure in a seemingly drawish position. Okay, so d5 is a little bit too committing, I would say. And,
Yes.
it's not
this is
necessarily a
it.
bad move, but it's very committal. And I'm feeling like I don't even have to take immediately because it will open up his bishop, even though it might be good for me. I'll just play knight f4 because he doesn't have the bishop to defend this square. He exchanged it. And
If you take on d5 and play then knight f4, how would he defend his pawn?
That's a good question. But I'm not playing the best moves as mentioned before. So now rook a c8. Just developing and preparing c takes d5 with the pin over here on the c file. So now technically I finished my development. You're right that it might have been a better move, but I just don't want to play too concretely. I want to be as logical as possible without relying on tactics. So once again, I feel like a logical follow-up to my plan will be to play b5 and put pressure on the pawn chain because he moved his pawn here from d4 to d5. And it's more fragile here because when the pawns move forward, they become stronger and grab space, but they are also more difficult to defend. So now after this move, for example, I have several options actually, but I feel like I want to take on b5 with the pawn. And
So you are taking towards the
yes,
center, yeah?
exactly. It's generally a good idea to capture towards the center if possible, and not away from the center.
Yes.
So now it creates a pin on the C file. So I can either move away from the pin or play C5 myself and try to grab space. Both options seem legit.
Yeah, I like c5 kind of.
Let's go C5. Another option that might be interesting is queen back to b8, but I don't like to move backwards. So yeah, and I don't want to allow him to open up his bishop. This bishop on b3 does not deserve to be too strong. And yeah, he's wasting a lot of moves on it. Okay, so now a good follow-up will be to ask what he's threatening. Nothing. And I want to put the rook on the open file, so I don't see a reason to avoid rook a8. Even though I moved it already, we are past the opening phase, so we are just proceeding with the two questions. And now again, which piece doesn't work? The rook on e8. So I think I'll just simply double the rooks.
Okay.
So which square? Let's put it on a7? Or,
yes.
Or a6
Well,
even?
It doesn't matter, I think, so much.
Okay, let's put it on a6 just to be more active.
Okay.
Even about this difference we can talk a little bit, but I mean, I don't want to get too subtle. So yeah, now he's doing a good thing, fighting against our most active piece, trying to trade it. And I'm thinking I want to keep it there, so I'll just bring the other knight, which is also not really working at the moment. So by exchanging the knight on f6 with the knight on g3, I will preserve a good knight on f4.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and now I'm pre-moving knight takes f4 because I have less than 2 minutes. But I hope the viewers will agree that if he takes, I'm gonna take back with the knight. So I advise players not to pre-move at all unless it's captures, because in this case, I mean, unless it's a recapture, because then only if he captures the pre-move will be valid. So that's a small tip for online play where you don't have much time on the clock in Blitz. But generally, pre-moving and taking risks is inadvisable.
Yes.
User's discretion is advised. So, okay, continuing my plan. I don't mention it because of the time control, but I'm asking myself, what is he threatening? The answer is nothing. Then I proceed with reinforcing the weakest piece. Now, once again, no threat that I can see. The weakest piece that I have, in my opinion, is the queen on c7. I see two ideas: queen c8, eyeing the h3 square, and another one is to move it to some place like b6 or b7, preparing some b4 later on. I like attacking, so I will do queen c8. Seems like a decent way to improve the worst placed piece that I could find.
Yes.
It's funny to call the queen the worst placed piece, but yeah, I guess.
No, why? It's relative.
Yeah, it's relative to itself, not to and to the harmony of the pieces.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so now I want to capture on h3, and I have to calculate if it works. Knight takes h5, he will play, and then I am thinking about knight takes g2. It seems very interesting.
I think it's too complicated.
I can also take back. Okay, but if it's too complicated, I will not argue.
No, I mean, it's just kind of unnecessary. Maybe...
Yeah, okay, I'll just go back to f6 for one move and see what happens. Because we don't have too much time and I don't want to rely on these complex solutions. Let's keep it simple if possible. I can't guarantee it will work, but now I'm threatening bishop h3, and now he's giving up a pawn in the process of trying to simplify the position. I'm not sure it's too bad for him, but yeah, it's a good idea. Okay, let's take it. And now knight e7 is probably the follow-up. And now suddenly the rook on a6 is doing a nice job. A fine job defending d6. Okay, now exchanging should be in my favor, because I'm a pawn up. Also the f5 pawn will be lost probably, sooner or later. And if I can get a second pawn, it will be a matter of technique. And by the way, in technique, it's also very important to ask myself with every move, what is my opponent's threat? And if he has nothing, then to improve my pieces. So
Yes.
this is a piece I would like to improve, but it's defending d6, so I can't really do it now in a useful way. So it's hard to be too logical with this time control. So I'll move backwards, even though I don't like moving backwards in general. But yeah, just forgive me in this case. And now this is protected here, so I can afford to go rook a4 to improve the piece, and maybe put the other rook on a6 and prepare some b4. I don't know if it's the best idea, but it's possible. And I didn't miss the fork, by the way. I know you were about to mention it. So now doubling the rooks and threatening b2. And well, can we capture?
Yes, I think we can. Why not? We have 3 attackers, 2 defenders.
Yes. So this is even more basic, counting the attackers versus the defenders. And I'm capturing with the queen because I don't mind trading with the 2 pawns advantage. And now the worst placed piece is the knight, so I'll put it on a better square, which is f4. And well, let's see what will happen next. Then I'll probably go c4 and d5 if possible. Well, okay, it's hard to decide. Let's go g6. I don't like the back rank ideas. I'll put the king on g7 and then see what happens. Okay, so far no threats. Threatening mate in 1.
Yeah, always a good idea.
Limiting the knight a little bit. He's defending, but now he's missing a fork. So the rook is undefended, and that's a relatively simple way to exploit it. Okay.
Yeah.
Once again, towards the time pressure, I feel very apologetic, but hopefully everyone will take it in good faith. And Sheikh David decided to take a break from the tournament after drawing 1 game. That's interesting. Okay, so where are we standing? Do you see us? Number 7, 12 points. It's so funny that I have to mention it, that the tournament system here in these arenas is that people are being rewarded for playing more games. So basically playing Förster or Berserking, just like this opponent. And he was also giving up the how do you call it? The increment by Berserking.
Yeah.
So he's gonna play very quickly, which won't leave us too much time to comment on his moves, but we will explain our moves. So what do you do after c4, Asaf?
I usually play g3.
Okay. Just like some of the top players that we all admire. This
Yes,
seems like
but,
the most popular move after c4. Was also recommended in a book by Mikhail Marin. And yeah, now what is the follow-up that you like? d4 will transpose to d4 related
Yes,
positions.
I'm not a d4 player, so what I usually do, I play something like d3 and e4, yeah, or e4 immediately, doesn't matter so much.
Alright, the Botvinnik system.
Oh, I didn't know it's called like this.
Yeah. So now is e4 or rook b1 your favorite plan?
I like e4 and knight e2.
Okay, let's develop. We want to put the knight on e2, and it's seemingly a close Sicilian with a pawn on c4, yeah, instead of c2.
Hey, you can call it a lot of things.
Yeah. Okay, now h3 is a tempo on the bishop, so there is no reason to avoid it. If he gives up the pair of bishops, then we're fine. And now, actually, I like the pawn here on h3
Yes,
because king h2.
Maybe we would play this move if he would have played bishop e6 in one move.
Yeah, we might have played h3 voluntarily. So okay, we don't have to develop the bishop, but we wanted to keep it simple, right? Normally f4 would be a great move here. So,
yeah, I will play f4.
Okay, let's play f4. The point is to take back with the pawn and to grab space if possible. And well, I would probably delve into the topic of pawn chains and pawn breaks in a position, but one can talk about it for a very long time. But basically, the tip of the iceberg is that look at the pawn structure before we played f4. So around here, this pawn chain with d3 and e4 is pointing towards the queen side. So ideally, we would put the pawns in this direction, and this is the way that we want to have a pawn break as early as possible. Okay, now he's threatening something, so it's very simple to respond. So, even though the c4 related positions are very difficult to explain to beginners, we'll try to focus on the simple two questions that we are mentioning all along. Which is the worst placed piece? Not in this order. Let's start from the first one. What is my opponent's idea? And the second one is which is my worst placed piece? If he has no idea, then we'll improve that piece. Okay. And we are dropping a bit of ideas here and there, but the focus will be on these two questions. Okay, so now, does he have a threat?
I don't think so.
We don't think so. So, the worst placed piece, it's not necessarily the queen, but it's the next piece in line to be developed. So let's put it somewhere. I like the square on d2.
Yeah,
and this battery might be useful if you want to get bishop h6 and exchange the most important defender of his king. And without the dark squared bishops, his king will, and the dark squares around it will be weaker. Okay, now I would like to ideally develop this rook on a1, and I would like to put it on the open file on g1. So a nice way to do it would be to move this rook forward to f2, and then either put this one on g1 or double on f1. I'm not sure if it's the best way to play, but it's definitely a relatively logical one to develop. So now we have one more piece in the game, and now he plays king h8. And well, once again, does he have a threat? Not really. Which is the worst placed piece? What do you think?
I don't know. A lot of pieces can be improved, I think, but...
Okay, so choose one.
I'm
thinking
I like the idea of getting the bishop from g2 to, let's say, f1, just to uncover the rook from g1, and then it will help us after maybe breaking through the f5.
I agree, but I will play something else if you don't mind. I will say that the knight on e2 can be improved, so I'm putting it on g3, doing the opposite of what you're saying, blocking my own rook.
Yeah.
Of course, we cannot tell for sure which move is better, but we just move. I prefer to move forward for as long as possible, and not to necessarily focus on the best possible move in every position, as long as I play something decent. Okay, now he allows us to play f5, which will improve the position and grab some space, so I don't see a reason to avoid it.
Yes.
And it comes with tempo, and tempo is very holy in chess. And now, once again, the bishop is a piece that can be improved, and as I mentioned, exchanging these bishops can grant us some attacking chances around the dark squares. And as you can see, we have more pieces on the king side than he does. So if we exchange some pieces, then we will have his king will have less defense, let's say.
Yes.
So now I'm thinking once again to improve the placement of my pieces. So just bring the queen closer, queen to g5. I know it might not be the best move, but it's definitely a logical way to continue. So now he's taking. We can take both pieces, but as mentioned, the bishop is more important. And yeah, now knight e5 is probably going to play, threatening knight g4 and the pawn on d3. So it's kind of something that I missed, but I have to react. So I think I'll go queen h4 with the tempo on the knight on f6, defending from knight g4. And now d3 is hanging, and then I'll follow with Asaf's advice and play bishop f1, if possible.
Actually, I think not that good actually. But what can you do if he defends the knight? You have maybe
Yeah, now he's
some.
running knight fg4, so I have to be careful. And then after queen h4 to get my queen. So he's gonna win some material. Unfortunately for him, he has only 2 seconds, so it's not gonna help him. So I would first say good game to my opponent before going on to flag him, and he resigned. But I think Black is having a good position so far. He's been definitely one of the best players here, but unfortunately he berserked against us. Yeah,
Yeah,
and then maybe he didn't want to head in and didn't notice it was us. Either way, he was the leader after Shrek David, and yeah,
really. Maybe he's kind of, you know.
yeah. But if people berserk, then they have to be willing to pay the price for having no time. I mean, I don't like this method of gambling. Let's say. Okay, now what
Mhm.
opening should I play? I cannot play e5 anymore.
Um. Okay, no. D5, knight f6 would
Okay,
be
let's go
nice.
d5, taking over the center a little bit. Okay, so by the way, an hour has passed. So if you feel like leaving, then I won't be offended. And I know it's very late in Israel for those who don't know. So yeah, and some of us are not, let's say, night owls and go to sleep relatively early. So if you choose to stick for this game, also I will be. Uh, I don't know how to say it. I forgot how to
You would
phrase myself.
be
But I will be
appreciate.
flattered. Exactly.
Oh, flattered.
Yeah.
Okay, I would stick for this one. It's okay.
Okay. And by the way, if I didn't mention, I think I have only once in the stream, the beginning, but Asaf is a chess coach himself. As you probably heard, he was teaching for 11 hours today, and still managed to stay here with us and survive a little bit. So we're just developing so far. And other than being a chess coach, he also has his own YouTube channel. I will link to his coach page on Lichess and to his YouTube channel. And if you like what we're doing here, then please subscribe to him. It doesn't cost anything and it will help motivate us to do more of these things. And now, let's continue our development in the most old-fashioned way. I feel like Rubinstein. I don't know why.
Rubinstein.
Yeah.
I'm not. I mean, the position is so dry. So.
Yeah. So I feel like if we win some rook endgame. So yeah. So basically e5 is my plan, but then d5 will be. Oh, wait.
What?
Okay, I need to take a small breath. Okay, before I agree to what? My opponent may have left the game. You can claim victory, call the game a draw, or wait. Wow, that's an interesting choice. But first, let's mention it on his last move. He played c3, and this pawn was defending the bishop on d3. And now, if we play bishop takes d3, he will just lose this piece.
Yeah, I don't know why, but it also took me some time to see it. I think subconsciously we're kind of not expecting our opponents to blunder like this, so we both didn't see this move.
Well, I'm feeling like it would be. I mean, had he asked for a takeback, I would have granted it to him because people are waiting to play against us, and when they get a chance, they like. Okay, first I'll make a move, c6. I will give him a chance to continue without taking his bishop. I know chess is a struggle, and you're not supposed to be merciful to the opponent, but we are here to learn, and if the opponent will give him like let's say a minute to come back because Asaf needs to leave after this game anyway. So let's see. So about the position, I did not blunder the bishop. I wanted to play c6 to defend d5 and push e5 later. And then bring the rooks to the open files if possible. So
Yeah, for sure.
for sure, bro. So how do you feel about these explanations so far?
Yeah, I think for a lot of people would find it helpful.
Yeah, I'm
Hopefully.
wondering if we'll do the same format with Hutch, if it will help him improve. His rating is around 1400 on chess.com when he's doing well, and sometimes it goes a little bit lower, but I'm feeling like this format can be very instructive. And last time we did it, many people were asking us to do it again, and we're very thankful. So
Yeah.
I feel good about doing this again, and hopefully it will become a regular thing for us. And by the way, I want to apologize a little bit for the Twitch setup. I didn't have a lot of time because we had to take care of things in the last minute to find our loyal Chess Juice member to replace the almighty Hutch, who was, by the way, a YouTube star, if someone in the chat didn't realize by now. Okay, so I feel like we can release you from the duty of saving my stream. And
Yeah, okay.
thank you very much for being here. And well, hopefully next time it will be a day when you have only 6 hours of teaching rather than 11, yeah? And then you can stick longer. So
Yeah, maybe.
yeah, so great job covering my explanations, and hopefully see you streaming even on your own on Chess Juice sooner or later.
Yeah, thank you. So,
Right, so have a good night.
yeah, good night, everybody. Goodbye.
Yeah. Okay, so the opponent is not making a move. Let's claim victory after all this time. And we gave him a chance. And by the way, from sportive point of view, don't bail games like this. Just either offer a take back or resign or something. But to bail a game is not a very kind thing to do. So c4 very so Ondrej Miso is thanking us for playing c4 and claiming it's educational. I highly doubt it was too educational because we really didn't know what we were talking about. It's hard to verbalize the positions here. It feels like we were playing on instinct basically. Okay, so now I'll focus on another move I didn't play. A relatively simplistic way to develop. Knight f3 followed by just fianchettoing the bishop to g2 and castling, and then taking it from there. Maybe even playing b3 and doing a double fianchetto structure. And for those who don't know, a fianchetto is this structure with the 3 pawns here and the bishop on the long diagonal. Okay, so I'll start with bishop g2. Let's first see what the opponent does. Now c6. For some reason... okay, everything is fine. Okay, now I castle. And I'll continue asking the same 2 questions and trying to see if I can respond well. So what does he want? Nothing. I'll continue my development by playing d3. My plan is to put a knight on d2, b3, bishop on b2, and then take it from there. As long as he doesn't have a threat. Just want to develop all my pieces and then see which other pieces I can improve further. Okay, b3 is the follow-up. He has no threat for the moment. And now seems like everything is fine, no threats. Now the follow-up will be e4, but right now I have only 2 defenders and he has 3 attackers, so I'm gonna bring another defender and also developing the rook in the process. So rook e1, preparing e4. Please notice that it's important that the bishop is on b2, because if it was on c1 he would have had a tactic starting with de, d takes e4, knight takes e4. You can work out the details yourself, so why with the bishop on c1 it would be better for black. But it's connected with the fact that the queen is protected by this rook. Now a5 is threatening a4, so I'm asking myself what does he want? He's threatening a4, and I will respond with a typical way against a4. I'm playing a3. The idea is that after a4 I can play b4 and maintain a healthy pawn structure. Now once again, what does he want? Nothing. Which piece doesn't work? This queen. I'll just move it forward to a better square. And on the next move, if he doesn't threaten anything, I'll put the rook on d1 and continue to slowly improve my position, if possible. So for now it feels good. I try to be a little bit interactive with the chat, if possible. It's not gonna be easy, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, some people in the chat are debating whether or not what we are doing here is a form of cheating. So I want to stress that on leeches.org you are allowed to consult with another human player if you are playing in a private tournament that is for consulting, like this one that we created here, and if you're writing it in your user bio, which is mentioned. You can see in the biography of this particular user. And also, as you probably understand, we were streaming at the same time and using it for educational purposes. So hopefully no one will be too annoyed. Our chances to play good chess didn't decrease as a result. So I feel like all those who are annoyed with this fact will be relieved at least a little bit. And as I mentioned in the announcement, those who are too much against the idea of what we are doing here don't have to play against us and don't have to watch this stream. So I'm not forcing anyone. So h3. Okay, 95 by the way was another follow-up of the same concept. I didn't explain it. I wanted to improve a piece and move the knight to the center because he had no threat. Now once again, what is his threat? I have no idea right now, so I'll assume he has no threat. How do I improve my position? I'm thinking about f4 and g4 and trying to play on the king side. But unfortunately the queen is pinning this pawn. So an idea for me might be to play king h1, moving away from the pin, and then playing f4 next. a4, b4, once again as I mentioned before in the event, and it starts raining here outside. Okay, so does he have a threat? Yes, c takes b4 is his idea. I will just reinforce the pawn structure by playing c3. If he takes, I will take back with the c pawn, but I might also capture towards the center like Asaf recommended, although I'm a little bit afraid of this a4 pawn that might start moving forward later. So I'll see what happens next. By the way, I didn't have any sound for the moves. Now I'm going to fix it finally. I don't know why I forgot to set it. Okay, does he have a threat? No. So I'll continue my plan. Grabbing space on the king side. I don't see a good way to improve my pieces. So just go f4 and maybe, if possible, some g4, maybe even h4 and g5, and trying to continue my plan. And just as I mentioned earlier, uh, when I said on the tip of the iceberg, his pawn chain is pointing at the queen side like this. So this is his direction of play. My pawn chain, let's assume the pawn was on c2, is pointing at the king side. So I'm playing on this area of the board. So hopefully it's kind of clear. And now, okay, if I take with the a pawn, he will have a3, and then I go bishop a1. Oh, he also has d4, so it's annoying. I don't want to allow it. I'll play c takes b4. But now he also has a slightly annoying option with rook to c2, attacking the bishop on b2 and pinning the knight. So maybe it was his threat and I just didn't realize it on time. So it's possible to make mistakes also in this method, but I recommend going through your games afterwards and analyzing them and trying to understand whether or not you fail to recognize some of your opponent's threats. Okay, now he's obviously threatening the bishop, and I have to do something about it. So seems like a good way to respond will be to move the bishop backwards. So I'll move it. Well, I don't know if it's too good, but it's possible. I don't want to drop the bishop. Now an idea for me might be knight d to c4, trying to get away from the pin with by means of tactics, by threatening knight takes b6 and having the queen attacking his rook. I'm not sure if it's working tactically, but I want to consider it. Okay, so now, does he have a threat? de4 is kind of a threat, but I'm not sure if there's something I can do about it. It's a very good move, queen to b5. Kudos to the opponent. I'll try some tactic here. I'll play with the knight backwards to f3, threatening knight d4, attacking the queen and the rook. So it's a little bit of a complex solution, but I don't know what else to do because I got myself in some trouble by missing his threat on the earlier move. So in complex situations, usually the solutions are quite complex. So he has to respond to my threat. I'm assuming by the fact that he's thinking for so long that he spotted it. Maybe he's calculating d takes e4, because after knight d4 he has a nice intermediate move of e takes d3. So it's definitely worth calculating. Knight g4 is another interesting way to respond. I guess after knight d4 he has some idea, but I don't see it, so I'll try to test him out. Maybe it's queen b6, and then after knight c2 he will have knight f2 check with some perpetual. But just mentioning, knight f2 check followed by knight h3 double check and knight f2 back. And if I go to f1 he will have queen g1 mate. However, after queen b6 I can simply take the knight instead of the rook and I will win a piece. So now with this one move I'm threatening to capture 3 of his pieces. This can't be good for him. Queen d3 is seems to be the idea for black, but unfortunately now I can take the rook and I don't see what he can do against it. If queen c2 I take the knight once again and I'm full rook for a pawn up, so it's 4 points lead, and well, I don't see another way for him to grab any one of my pieces. Queen e2, rook e2, I just once again have a rook for a pawn. So seems like a miscalculation by my opponent with the move knight g4, and he resigned. Okay, so let us continue with 40 minutes to go in the tournament. We're waiting for another game to start. let's go back to the starting move, e4. I could play other openings as well, but we have a Sicilian from the white side. Okay. I'm not familiar with a way to keep it too simple against the Sicilian, so I'll just develop. Okay, you know what? I'll do something relatively simple. I'm not sure it's recommended, but I'll just play with the pieces to the center. Normally, it's not the best way to tackle the Sicilian defense, but I just want to keep it as simple as possible. Now he's attacking the pawn. I'm going d3. Playing in the most simple way possible. Now maybe you want some d5 related ideas. So I feel like I'll play just c3 followed by bishop b3 later on. Can also go knight d2 and play in the style of the Gucco piano that we saw earlier. Putting a rook on e1, knight f1, knight g3. I don't know if I should include a4 or not. Let's include it. I don't see why not. d5, I'll go back. And he wanted to go b5, by the way. So I played relatively quickly in the opening. I can't say that I played the best moves. Now he seems to delve into some tactics, so we need to calculate. And this is a topic I didn't actually mention earlier in the stream, but when I calculate, I consider three basic things: captures, checks, and threats. So here I start from the most simple capture because he's attacking my bishop. I take, and now if he takes back, I will just win the pawn. So if I take, he has to take here to justify what he's just played. And then I take with a knight. He plays queen takes d1, trying to win something, but have knight takes f6 check, intermediate move. Okay, seems like a good move. Now once again, let's continue to calculate. D takes e4, d e4, knight e4, he plays knight takes e4. So I can play rook takes e4. And am I losing the queen with queen takes d1 check? No, I have the bishop here to defend it. So according to my calculation, it seems like I should win a pawn in these tactics, because maybe he missed the fact that my bishop is protecting the queen. So let's see what happens. He can also start with queen takes d1, but I mentioned it, yeah? I have knight f6 check, intermediate move, and I also can simply play bishop takes d1. As long as the rook protects the knight, then I will be fine. Yes. I can get also queen takes d8 as an intermediate move, but it's following the same point. After rook d8, rook e4, the bishop will defend the d1 square from a little idea of rook d1 check. So now I'm a pawn up. Seems like the tactics didn't work in black's favors, and they shouldn't have, because I just developed relatively logically. So, and I was white, I played the first move, so there's no reason why I should lose by playing logical moves. The position didn't justify his tactical measures, as far as I could understand. So now he's being punished for being a little bit too aggressive with the black pieces, and this is the phase I like to refer to as the technique. So I will use the same method that I used throughout this stream. What does he want? What is his threat? I don't see one. So let's develop this bishop, preferably with tempo. So I like this square on f4 because it attacks the rook on b8. The tempo is a holy achievement in chess, as we know by now. Now he has a tempo on my queen. I'll just develop it once again with a tempo. No, not a tempo, but I will maintain my threat on the rook. So technically, you can say I won a tempo with it. Now I want to go rook to e1 or d1. I'm not sure which one is better, but there are also other options that look very enticing. So another idea that comes to mind is bishop c2 followed by b4 and c5, grabbing space. And this bishop is also, I can treat it as if it's not developed at the moment. So putting it on c2 helps me create threats against his king. So a nice idea that might take place next is h4 and knight g5. Okay, now this move is very weakening. This pawn is becoming quite weak afterwards. And I can just go here. And I don't see any reason to open up your king and weaken this e6 pawn like this. So bishop f6 trying to justify it, but e5 is not even a threat because I have 4 attackers on this square. So just continue my plan. I can go b4. But you know what? I'll just keep it simple. First, I'll go rook e1. Continuing my development and bringing another piece to the game. So I don't want to get too complicated here. Even though b4 might be a better move, I don't want to get too tactical. Bringing a new piece to the game, even if it's not the absolute best move, it can't be bad. It can't harm my position. Not to seize an opportunity, but as long as I keep bringing more pieces. So now after I finished bringing pieces, a nice move will be h3 or h4 to have a window for the king. And of course, I will continue with the same line of thinking. Is he threatening anything? No. So now, which is the worst placed piece? Right now, all my pieces are very powerful. So I want to mention that in these cases where all the pieces are in the relatively best positions and he didn't finish his development, then there should be some tactical idea, some strike. And in this case, the obvious strike is what I mentioned already a lot of times. It's the move b4. So it's protected by the pawn and the queen has not many squares. And now once again c5 with the tempo on the queen, and the queen has to go to a7, which is a very sad square for him. And after he goes there, once again I'm asking myself, does he have a threat? Not really, because bishop c3 is not possible, the rook defends. So I'll think to myself, which piece can I improve with tempo? And the answer that comes to my mind is this bishop. I can go to c7 and have a tempo on the rook, and if he moves, I might even have the idea of bishop b6. So I really like this. The rook also doesn't have too many squares. This one is leaving the open file, so I'm very happy about it. And also now, once again, what is his threat? I don't see anything. I'm thinking to myself, which piece doesn't work? But before I continue with this line of thinking, I want to mention that I spot that this rook is hanging on e8. Because there is a pin on the e file. So technically this pawn is not really defending f5. So I can improve my position and my pieces by means of tactics. So I improve this bishop and capture a pawn in the process because of the pin. So this is a tactical way to exploit my activity and the fact that he put his rook on a loose square. So I'm already 2 pawns up, if I'm not wrong, and he missed the fact that I can take it here, and I'm winning more material. Now I'm trying to figure out if I can mate him. Queen c4 looks like a good idea, but I'm not in a rush. Let's go h4 first. I want to get h5 in to get the g6 square away from him. Now he's trying to attack my bishop with tempo, but I have this en passant. And now h5, and I'm threatening queen c4, which is mate into queen takes e6 after bishop e6. So h5 taking away his square, and while attacking I also kind of created a window for my king, so it's still very, very logical throughout the game. So queen c4 check. Now the only legal move is bishop e6, and then queen e6 is mate. So overall feels like a decent game. Very simple chess in my opinion, and I managed to kind of verbalize my thoughts throughout the game. So I'm quite happy about it. And yeah, thanks for the compliments, Ariel. And Chess King says time is not important. Okay, interesting. That's almost refuting what Bobby Fischer said, his famous quote, chess is timing, which is one of my favorite chess quotes, by the way. And I think it also has a lot of philosophical meaning for life. Timing is a very important topic. So, alright. So, Shrek David is berserking against us. And well, he's a high-rated player, so I will refrain from explaining everything because I want to play some good chess as well. So let's see if I can do something without explaining too much. I feel like he's berserking and he wants to win the tournament all the time, which he probably will. He's leading by 12 points. But let's just be a little bit less educational for this particular game. I'll just develop my pieces. I might lose, by the way, because I feel like my brain is a little bit forgot even the word. Let me check it on Google. One moment. So I'll just continue playing logically. So what's the word? Degenerated. I hope it's not a curse. It sounds like how I feel about my brain right now. Okay, c4 working? It shouldn't work. Knight c2. Oh, knight a5 is possibly a good move here. Attacking the queen. I think I've seen this idea once, and now moving this knight backwards. But he has b4. Okay, so maybe he tricked me, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. He's playing very quickly, seems very confident. So... If I take, d takes c3, seems like it shouldn't be too bad for me, but I'm not too happy about it either. Okay. But I have to do something. Okay, so I'll simplify. I'm not too happy about the development here. But, well, when playing against high-rated opponents, I can't rely on too simple measures, because I want to also... I mean, sometimes the best moves are not necessarily the most simplistic ones. Okay, now taking on c1 is not necessarily the best move. I'm thinking about an interesting tactic. Bishop f5, and if he captures, then bishop c2. If it works, it's gonna be awesome. Because it seems like I'm winning a full rook afterwards. Maybe I'm wrong, but let's see for ourselves. Yeah, he kind of verifies it by not taking. And well, the knight on b3, it's hard for me to say if it's strong or weak. So yeah, I can play c4 and I can take on c1. Both seem interesting. It's hard to decide. Okay, let's take it. Let's keep it simple. Now he wants to take. I don't have to prevent it. I think I can play castle long and continue my development. I might be wrong, because if he takes, it might be annoying. Okay, I need to focus for one moment. I can go c4 also. There shouldn't be a reason why c4 is bad, although knight d2 technically could be a reason. Yeah, now c4 is a bit loose. Okay, let's defend it. It seems like my position is slightly worse suddenly, but I have to keep it up. Let's see. Try to focus, at least for a little bit. Knight g5 might be a good move now. Yeah, now I have to give up the bishop. I could try bishop d5, but then he has e4. Okay. Unfortunately, in this game, I can't afford to let's say explain too much. Oh, now if he takes and I take with the rook, then he will win a pawn. So I have to take with a pawn. I missed the tactic, but I don't think I'm in too much trouble because I have control over the d file. So I don't want to play too slowly also, because then it might help him think with his time control, and I don't want to lose to someone who's berserking. And it's just a matter of I feel like what he's doing in this tournament is trying to win it, and while berserking against anyone, and I feel like beating him exceeds my need to explain all the moves. So hopefully you'll excuse me in this particular case. I will feel more heroic if I win the game. Which is not necessarily gonna be easy. Okay, I want to go knight a7, knight b5. Improving my piece. He has no increment, by the way. I have 2 seconds increment, so it shouldn't be such a big problem if I manage to just play logical chess. Okay. Now what happens if I take? He's gonna play rook d2 or what? Knight b5 is coming, so he doesn't have a direct way to improve. Okay, his position is very passive, as you can see. Let's just go h6 for no reason. He's having a lot of difficulty to make moves in this position. Yeah, bishop f3. Okay. I'll go from here. Maybe. Rook b2. I also have as rook a2. Okay. Interesting. Okay, let's exchange. Allow him to exchange and see what... Ah, he doesn't want to. Okay. I think like I can win this. Okay, taking the pawn. But now this pawn on c4 is loose. This was a bad judgment call by me, but maybe I can do something good with it. Okay, king c6 is bishop e8. Let's go b5. Position is getting complicated. Fortunately for me, he has no how do you call it, increment. Even though I'm extremely slow in this game, I feel like I can win. Now knight e3 and knight f6 are both very big threats, and he allows me to mate in one. So okay, I feel like I wasn't too educational in this particular game, but I'm sure at least some of you will excuse me. So now we will proceed with the last 22 minutes of educational chess. So someone is asking in the chat, Butil Kapiva, where can one find the games of the Israeli League? Well, I don't think they go to the database, and I'm kind of sad about it, because I managed to draw against Ivanchuk with white in the first round, and this game is not going to the database. I even asked someone specifically to get this game to the database somehow, so that I can at least show it on my channel without people thinking I made up a game. So I played e5 twice. Let's play the Sicilian defense. As a boy I used to play the dragon, so let's go on with it if he allows me. Eva 55. So someone else in the chat is asking if he just missed the show. No, Hutch didn't make it today, so he will hopefully do the show with us on a different occasion. But it's all in good spirit, just like what we're doing here. I hope nobody is pissed that they were expecting this spontaneous stream. Now bishop g4 is a nice way to try to exploit this setup. But I don't want to go knight e5, I have to mention it, because then he can take on e5 with bishop f7 mate ideas. My idea is to probably play e6 next. Okay, so the question that was about... Okay, knight e5 is an interesting attempt to mate me, because if I take the free queen, then he will give me bishop f7 mate. But unfortunately, I can just capture the knight, and now I'm attacking. I mean, I just win a piece because I'm attacking the knight, the bishop and the queen. I'm a piece up. Okay, a check is a very good idea, but I can just, I don't even have to continue threatening his queen. Although I don't mind it, I'll just go back. And he will respond, and then if he attacks my bishop, I'll just go bishop d7, unpinning, and I'm a full piece up, so can't complain. I'm gonna play g6, bishop g7, and have an improved version of the dragon. Okay, so once again, I'm asking myself what is his threat. I don't see anything, but I don't have to play g6 now. I'll just go e6, attacking the knight, and if he takes, I will go queen f6 with, once again, it's a tempo. I'm not threatening anything, but he's moving his knight 3 times, also known as thrice, and I moved my knight only once. So if he will exchange them, then these 2 extra moves has to go somewhere. So I'm exploiting them by playing e6 and queen f6. I got these 2 extra moves for free, in a way. So don't move the same piece twice before you finish developing all the other pieces. And yeah, now I can move bishop e7, but I feel, you know what, if I say something, I might as well practice what I preach. I wanted to go g6, bishop g7, but yeah, now I'm kind of tempted to take a pawn, and there's no reason why I shouldn't, so I think I'll do it. But notice that after rook b1, this pawn here is defended. That's an important factor, because otherwise I'm helping him activate his pieces, which I'm kind of doing already, but I don't want him to activate it too much, and he resigned. Okay, thanks for the game. Once again, hopefully everyone takes it here in good faith and are not too annoyed with what we are having. And let's continue. So Shrek David took another break from the tournament, and this is my chance to take my control back. I don't feel like winning the tournament is my goal, but I definitely wouldn't mind it if I'll just do it while achieving the main thing, which is to be at least a little bit instructive. Okay, I could go knight c3, but as I mentioned, I like this maneuver here, so I'm just gonna do it and go knight f1, improve my pieces. So I'm moving the same piece twice as I mentioned not to do, but well, I don't know yet where I want this bishop, and well, I'll start by playing a4, kind of threatening a5, so he has to play a6, strategically speaking at least, and a5 is another possibility, but it weakens the light squares a little bit, and yeah, I don't see a way to punish him, but okay, I'll just use something I did earlier in the stream, bishop g5 with a tempo on the queen, and if he goes f6, I just go back to e3. So this is kind of a provocation that I did. I could play bishop e3 immediately, but this move f6 is in my favor because it closes his bishop, takes a square away from the knight, and well, I think his next move is knight h6, so I'm preventing it by developing my queen to d2. As mentioned before, I'm subconsciously asking myself what is his threat or what is his idea, and I just prevent it because now I can just capture. Okay, castling long against my coming pawn storm is inadvisable, or inadvised, I don't know. Anyway, I will be educated for a moment. What is my opponent threat? Nothing at the moment. I also have a lead in development, so when all my pieces are in decent squares and the development is finished, it should be a right time to launch some form of an attack, or at least a pawn break, or search for a right plan, and I don't see anything more fitting than b4, which kind of also exploits the fact that he played a5 earlier. This is called a hook, because I can lean on it like this and get to it quicker. Yeah, and he's pre-moved the capture, which okay, seems logical, but I don't feel bad about it. I'm just gonna take back, and now his idea is to to you'll see after this to play c5, I guess, and to to fork two of my pieces, which seems like it should be annoying for me, but I feel like I can just save myself by moving the queen and pinning the pawn here. Although I might be wrong, I feel like I'm not losing a piece here. And even though, okay, now I thought knight e5 is a better way, but then queen e6, he gets to exchange queens, which will relieve the attack, but he still will have a lot of weaknesses. However, he played king b8, now I can just move the knight and I will have a winning position, at least strategically. I'm not sure which is the best way to move the knight, but I'm afraid to play knight e6 because of knight e5, but I see that I have queen a2, so it seems like a good way to exploit the light squares that are weak around the center. He moved a lot of his pawns to dark squares, so now I'm kind of invading his position and attacking a lot of pieces. So now if rook e8, I'll just exchange this knight for this bishop, and after queen takes, I'll probably continue opening files against his king and bring the other rook. Okay, let's take, like I said, and go a5. Well, Mr. Shrek David continues to play, so he seems very eager to win the tournament. And, well, according to the rules of the tournament, he seems to be the rightful winner because he played more games. Rook e to b1. I don't care about taking back as long as I can bring more pieces and attack his king. So he's attacking my queen. I'll just move it forward. I'm not sure what's my direct threat, but by bringing more pieces closer to his king, my position definitely improves, at least a little bit. And well, maybe my next move is queen a5 with the idea of queen a8 check, followed by rook takes b7. And now it also comes with a tempo on this rook, so I'll definitely take it. And if he moves king c8 now, I'll just move this bishop to a6 and exchange the only defender around his king. So let's see what's going on in the chat. Someone is saying that my goal is to win the tournament, but well, it's only the secondary one, and I don't think that I can do it if Mr. Shrek David will continue to berserk every game. So yeah, I'm feeling fine about the idea. And now he's retiring from the tournament again. I feel like it's more important for me to play well than to berserk, let's say. I won't have time and not an increment, but well, seems like some people might be interested to see us winning here. I feel like Asaf is still with me in his spirit, so to see Asaf and me winning our own tournament. And I am playing against Shrek David, so, and if I don't berserk, then I might not have a chance to beat him. So I will berserk, and okay, let's try. He does berserk as well, so I will not explain. Let's see if I can beat him in a regular game. Okay. I'll just play quickly and as a normal blitz game and hope that something good will happen. Okay, he can take and take on c4. It should be good for him, maybe. This pawn structure is kind of annoying for black though. I'm not sure if he can exploit it. Okay, I'll just take it, whatever. I'm in a too much of an educational mindset right now to play well. But yeah, I'll have to remember that there is not much time on the clock. So in this game I will not explain too much. I don't think like I got an advantage, which annoys me a little bit. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how to proceed, and I don't have too much time on the clock. He is very fast and strong when he wants to. So I have to focus. I hope I am not worse in this endgame. Feels like I shouldn't be. I want to bring the king over. And knight d2 if he attacks the pawn. Okay, I have less time, so I will just play as quickly as possible. Because he will flag me if he can. I don't think I can win this game under these circumstances. I have to try somehow, and it's not easy with 40 seconds. I'll just do my best to just play some moves. Yeah, I might lose on time. "27 seconds are not a lot." Is he gonna sacrifice the piece? Interesting. Oh, I missed the tactic. That's very bad. That's very bad. With 13 seconds, I'm gonna lose now. So, yeah, that's a bad choice. And now he takes, and I can't stop the pawn. That's very bad. I have to pre-move all the way. Not sure if I'll make it. If I can make it alive. I don't see a good square. Yeah. Losing on time. But it was a good try. So I hope some people enjoyed it. 2 minutes and 30 seconds for each player. So now I feel like our dear Shrek David is the rightful winner of the tournament. But I have to mention that he did outplay me in this endgame, so kudos for it. And I will go back to the educational mode. It's so hard to switch it back on and off. But, well, let's see what we can do now. I played Sicilian on e5, so I might as well play the French defense. c3. I didn't see c3 against the French defense, but I'm curious to see what's happening here. now I'll just continue to develop normally, if possible. I feel like the rush that from slow thinking I went to blitz mode and back. Now I'm trying to slowly get back. So I'm just developing. Seems like a relatively symmetrical position. Probably it was a wiser decision to develop the bishop first because now it's a little bit stuck. So I have to get it out somehow. Yeah. Now, okay, let's exchange. The bishop here needs to be developed, so depending on what he does, I'll develop it. Actually, he has bishop, knight to e5 jump later on. So I'm thinking this comes with a tempo on the bishop here on g5, so I might as well do it. I don't want to allow him to play knight e5 too conveniently. So I'm thinking maybe knight f4 with the tempo on the bishop makes some sense. And now, well, it really depends on what he does. It's amazing in chess, no matter how good I will be or how many wins I will get or what the conditions are, losing is always painful. And I'm sensing the negative emotions. Okay, exchanging this bishop is good for me. So I think I'll go for it. Now developing this bishop to the center. It's not the best square, but I have to finish my development somehow. Now the pin is a little bit annoying, so I will deflect the pin with bishop e7 and aiming to move the knight on the next move, if possible. I keep asking myself the idea from earlier. What is my opponent's threat? Nothing. Which piece doesn't work, etc. He wants to take. I prefer to get the pair of bishops. No. Again, no threat. I want to develop my queen, but I don't see a convenient square. Okay, but I have to go forward, so I'll put it on d6. Seems like a logical way to develop. If it's my turn, I might even go f6 to exchange queens and have an endgame with a pair of bishops, which should be in black's favor. So he prevents it, which is not a bad idea. Now I'll continue my development, assuming he has no threat. Once again, no real threat. So I want to have a window for my king, but I'm not sure how to get there. f6 might be the way. Can also start with bishop to f5, because the bishop is kind of limited on e6, eyeing these two pawns, and now he finally has some air to breathe on this central diagonal. And next maybe I want to play f6 and get rid of his strongest piece and the most annoying one for the moment. Need to get something to drink. first time I'm drinking soda on stream, but don't get the wrong message. I'm just out of water. So now, bishop f8. I could play f6, but then I will be pinned on the e file. So I'll move the bishop first. And now f6 is coming next. And oh, it's quite late already. It's after midnight. Okay, now his threat is to take my bishop. So I should probably move it. Let's go to the center. I don't see a reason why not. Now f6 is finally coming on the next move. Did Israel run out of water? Mirana Pandora. That's a mysterious question, but I will answer with an interesting fact. First of all, no, Israel did not run out of water yet, but Israel produces, I think, 55% of its water from seawater. By the way, I didn't threaten anything, so I continued my plan of fighting against this knight. What is it called in English? The process when you make seawater clean. Desalination. So 55% of Israel's drinking water, I'm not sure if it's drinking or generally clean water, used also in the industry of, well, I don't know any English, of agriculture or farming. Probably farming is the better word. So 55% of the water is achieved by, what was that word again? Desalination. Yeah, that's right. So I just needed to buy some water, or at least I can get some from the sink. Actually, it's perfectly fine, but I'm a spoiled boy. So let's see. He doesn't threat anything for the moment. That I can see. I'm thinking about some tactic. I don't know if it works, but I'm trying to make it work. I want to play f5. Blocking the field of the queen to protect the knight. And now if he takes with the knight, I don't take queen d7, falling for the trap of knight h6 check followed by queen takes d7. I'm taking the knight. And now I'm the one who's tricking him, because I'm attacking the queen, and if he takes my bishop, I will take the rook with check. So somehow I managed to trick him into winning material. Or, I mean, by winning material? I don't know. Trick him into losing material. That's the right way to phrase it. So the tournament has finished. I had I'm on the second place, the rightful place, I would say, with the situation and the rules of the tournament. But well, allow me to gently imply that the top seed here kind of missed the point of what we're doing. But it was an interesting challenge, so I thank you for it, Shrek David. As long as I'm playing against players who can beat me, I am thankful. And it kind of balances a little bit my emotional situation. After bullying all our dear opponents here, all those who didn't have a chance to play against us or me, I apologize, but there's only so many games. there are only so many games we can play here. And well, the tournament has ended. Let's see. So congrats to Shrek David, also known as David Gorodetsky, soon to be an international master, I believe 16 years old, from Israel. One of the biggest talents in our youth right now. And among the Israeli youth, I would say. I'm not sure, I don't remember how to speak anymore. But let me just verify his age before I mislead everyone. David Gorodetsky, by the way, also worthy of mentioning is that his brother is a very decent player, younger brother by the name of Matan Gorodetsky. So let's see if I can find them on the FIDE site. Yes, so David is born in the year 2000, so he should be 16 and a half more or less, almost 17. And let's say 16 for now. And Matan is born on 2003 and should be around 13. So hopefully they both will become GMs soon, and finally Israel will have two brothers who are grandmasters like many other countries. Just to mention a few, the Zhigolko brothers from Belarus, and the Vovk brothers from the Ukraine, and there are a bunch of others, so I don't want to project my ignorance by attempting to mention all of them. And wow, congrats Batli Kapiva for drawing against Matan. And well, everyone who watched this stream, please give some feedback in the comments, because the previous time we did such a thing, there was a shitstorm on Reddit, and many people complained that this is a form of cheating. And we did a very similar thing with a similar goal in mind. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, there is a 5-hour video on my channel with the title of Controversy. And I'm also doing the same thing, playing together with Asaf Givon. The time control was 10+0. And we were trying to be as educational and instructive as possible, and many people loved it. Some people complained. I would love to hear your opinions, even if they're negative. Just tell me what you think about it, and I want to do some more of these in the future as part of my Patreon project that will come up soon. And I'm not sure if I'll be able to arrange it properly, but I want to have a monthly banter blitz where the viewers have a chance to play against me. And I don't want to be a hypocrite. I will do some of these things for free, but in the Patreon related project, the monthly banter blitz will be attached to those who donate a certain amount and above, and with some other cool rewards. It's coming. It will be out in the coming weeks, and in the past, hopefully in the coming days. I originally planned to unleash the Patreon page at the January 1st, but I realized that there was so many things I needed to sort out to make it worthy for the viewers to have the cool rewards, and to structure it in a way that will be the best for everyone. I don't want anyone to feel like I'm trying to trick them in order to earn some money, and I want to make sure I explain it very well, that my expenses outweigh my income from chess, and especially from anything related to YouTube and to my internet endeavors. So thanks for the compliments about the commentary. I'm sure you referring mainly to Asaf's abilities. He's much more experienced than me at teaching beginners. And as someone mentioned in the comments before, they think that I'm doing the collaboration, or about to do the collaboration with Hutch, in order to find more students, but I don't think it will help me, because as mentioned in my Lichess profile, how do I say it? Lichess coach profile, I'm only teaching players above 2500 FIDE, and as you can probably understand, most of the viewers, especially those who come from the big channels like Hutch's channel, uh, will not be above 2500, most probably. So there are only so many of them in the world. So I feel like it's, I mean, I don't feel like I'm misleading anyone if I'd say that I find it very instructive and that I enjoy doing it. And of course, I wouldn't mind having a bigger crowd appreciating what I do, but that's not the goal. The idea is to spread the love and the passion for the game of chess. And I also feel like Lichess is a great place and a great community for chess. And that the fact that it will always be free for everyone is amazing. And that bringing more people to Lichess through let's call it the community that Hutch managed to build is a great thing. And I'm honored to be able to contribute at least a little bit to this amazing site. And well, I feel like this stream has finally reached its end, and I want to just quickly mention the obvious. If you like what I do and you want to see it more often, press the subscribe button below. I'm sure most of you already know about the channel and for one reason or another might chose not to subscribe, and it's completely fine. This is your consideration. I don't think I gain anything from it. But if you do subscribe and you do want to see my videos, I recently discovered there is another button next to the subscribe button, and you need to press it. The subscribe is like a dummy button nowadays. You need to press the bell on the right to this button and press receive notifications. And if you don't like the notifications, you still press it, but on your user preferences, you can change all the definitions, not to receive an email or not to receive a message on your phone if you have a YouTube application. Either way, press the bell if you want to receive more recommendations to watch my videos. And there is a Twitch channel. You can see it, the logo to it below the camera here. It's called Chess Juice. We are currently 9 members. And I want to also congratulate the newly created, the newly born international master, Evgeny Zanan. Yesterday he beat a strong player with black and secured his last international master known with 1 round to go. He needed 6 out of 9 and he achieved 6.5 out of 8 already. And well, that's a very nice achievement, and I'm sure now we can say officially that all the members on Chess Juice, all the 9 of us, are international masters or above. And not that it matters, but it's just nice to be able to mention it. And that soon I'm predicting that at least 3, if not more, will become grandmasters in the coming year or two. And those who are appreciating what we do and the fact that we are trying to build this community of chess players and like what we do and want us to stream regularly, then not subscribe but follow our Twitch channel. You can see the link below. And other than this, I'll quickly mention there's a Facebook page. I'm going to be more active on it soon enough. And there is a Patreon page coming up. And as I always mention, donations and tips are not necessary, but very much appreciated. And I'm mainly focused on reimbursing all my expenses in the past years, and it's not an easy task. So thanks a lot, everyone. I hope you enjoyed watching this stream, or at least learned something from it. And if you want to learn some more, then keep watching the next video.